Hello, welcome to this lesson. So what we're going to be going over today is I'm going to talk about editing and managing your text in a project. So first up is just go to the lesson folder we have for today, open that start file, and you'll notice it comes up with this missing font dialog. If you have one extra font in here called Urbana Light, I'll go ahead and hit the check mark and hit activate if you can. But if you have a menu that looks like mine, where it just has the Gaudi old style, go ahead and just hit skip. We're going to fix that here in a sec. So when you open your document, it should look like this. And you'll notice that our missing font is highlighted in pink. This is why I sometimes ask for you guys to give me a PDF version of your projects, because when there's a missing font, it just replaces it with the default, and that can change your design. Whereas if I have the PDF, I can see how it was supposed to look, and then I can just use the InDesign file to make sure that you guys have used like master pages and character styles and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and fix this missing font issue. So I'm going to go to Type, Find and Replace Font. You'll notice in our list here it has this warning symbol. Go ahead and just click on the Gaudi Old Style Italic. And down in where it says Replace With, we're going to change that to Myriad Pro. Here it is. And then just leave the font style as regular. And then if you hit Change All, you should notice that the pink goes away and it's changed the font. Now, because Minion Pro and Myriad Pro look very similar, you might not notice a difference in the fonts, but it has changed. So go ahead and hit Done. The next is we're going to edit and import some text. So first up is, just with my type tool, I'm going to click over here where it says protecting your piece. And I'm just going to get rid of the ing, so that way it says protect your piece. And then I can just hit escape on my keyboard and it'll take me out of that text frame. But I want to make sure I don't have anything selected, so I'm just going to click out in my pasteboard with my black arrow. Then I'm going to go to View, Extras, and Show Frame Edges. This will make it easier for me when I go to import my text. I can see where my frames are and I know where to click. So next up, I'm going to go to File and Place. And in that Lesson 6 folder, there should be a 06 gardening doc. Go ahead and just click on that. Open, and it should load up your cursor. Click inside this first column here, and it should add text to all 3 columns. Right, next up is I want to change the paragraph styles on them. So go ahead and select everything. The shortcut for that is either Control or Command A, or you can just click at the end and just click and drag to select everything. But just make sure you have all the paragraphs selected, and then we're going to go into our paragraph styles. If you can't find this menu, just go to Window, Styles, Paragraph Style. And we want to change all this text to body paragraph. You'll notice it has an overset error. That's fine for right now. But then I'm going to deselect everything, and I want to put my cursor inside this first paragraph. And I want to change that style to the first body paragraph. You should notice that it creates a drop case for us. If it added the drop case to other paragraphs or it added it to the wrong one, just undo it and make sure that your cursor is in this first paragraph here when you click on this style. Next up is I'm going to show you how to work with your Find Change menu. So make sure that your cursor is in that first line there, because the way this menu works is it starts from your cursor and then moves on. Just make sure it's at the beginning. But I'm going to go to Edit, Find and Change, and we want it to find every instance of bird, and we want it to change it to blackbird. And then just make sure your search is set to story, and then we don't want any of these settings turned on, so I'm just going to turn off case sensitive. Make sure you don't have anything down here. You shouldn't have anything in the formatting section either. If you do, just hit that trash can and it'll get rid of it. And once you've done that, just go ahead and hit Change All, and it should say it made 4 replacements. Then just hit OK, And you'll notice that if we go like down here, it changed birds to blackbirds. But you can also use this menu to not only change just like the text itself, but you can also change the formatting. So I'm going to go back into this menu and I'm going to change find what to tip, spell it uppercase T, lowercase IP, and colon. And I'm going to change it to uppercase for all of them. So uppercase TIP and then the colon. We want to keep the search to story, but we're going to go ahead and turn on case sensitive. And that will keep it from going in a loop where it just keeps finding tip over and over again. But we also want to change the formatting on it. So I'm going to go down to where it says change format. And I'm going to click on this magnifying glass with a T. Make sure that you're clicking on this one down here, not the one next to find format. You want to actually make the change. So it's going to be next to change. Then you're going to go to character color. You're going to select purple cool, and if you hit OK, it should add color purple cool to this list. So now if you hit change all, it should make 3 replacements, and if you hit OK, you'll notice like down here it changed tip to all uppercase and it changed it purple for us. So we're done with this, so just hit done, and then just make sure your cursor is up in this first line here. Now, like I've mentioned before, InDesign does have spell check. So I'm going to go to Edit, Spelling, Check Spelling. And you'll see the first issue up is cotton. I'm just going to click on the correct spelling, hit change. And next up is gardener. You can either find it from the list, click it, and hit change. Or you can actually just go up into change to and just fix the spelling yourself. And then just hit change. And then we actually want it to keep this spelling of soup. So we're just going to hit ignore all. And then same thing for poise. We're going to hit ignore all. Orzo, again, is the correct spelling, and it's going to be something that we're going to use often. So instead of hitting ignore all, we're going to add it to our dictionary. So anytime we use Orzo again in any other project, InDesign will be able to reference its dictionary, find it in the list, and then it will know that it's a correct spelling and it won't flag it every time we use that word. So go ahead and hit add, so that way it'll be added to our dictionary. And then for Frigola, we're going to hit ignore all, ricotta will be ignore all, and pancetta will be ignore all. So everything should be fixed, so we'll just hit done. So like with the Orzo, we add that to our user dictionary, which is a set of information that InDesign can reference to look up certain spellings of words. It usually has some of the basics in there, but it doesn't have everything. So if there is a word that you're going to use a lot and you know the correct spelling of it, you can add it to the dictionary like we did just now, or you can manually add it by going to Edit, Spelling, User Dictionary. And we're going to go ahead and add our own word. So we're going to go ahead and add ricotta. It's R-I-C-O-T-T-A. And I'm just going to add that. And you'll see Orzo has already been added, but it added ricotta onto the end of that. So now it knows these two are the correct spelling, so it won't flag it in this project or any other project. So I'm just going to hit done. And something that you guys might find handy is you'd notice that when I first brought up this project, it actually had some of the misspellings highlighted. If you want to turn on dynamic spelling, which is what that is, it's like in Word where if you misspell something or if there's a grammar issue, it highlights it in red or green. You can actually turn that on here in InDesign. So if you're on Windows, what you need to find is your preferences. If you're on Windows, I think preferences is under Edit. But on Macs, you need to click on where it says InDesign, go to Preferences, and then go ahead and find Spelling. And you can turn on Enable Dynamic Spelling by just hitting that check mark there. So now when you're working on a project, it will highlight misspellings for you, so you're less likely to forget to go to the spell check. And just hit OK, and it'll save that setting. Another handy thing in InDesign is it has a autocorrect, and luckily it's not like the autocorrect on your phone where it will correct perfectly spelled words to different inappropriate words. This autocorrect is you set it up manually, and you find it by going to your preferences again. So if you're on Windows, it'll be Edit Preferences. If you're on Mac, it'll be InDesign Preferences, and then just go to Autocorrect. And first thing you're going to do is go ahead and enable autocorrect if it's not already turned on. Just hit that check mark. And you can see there's already a bunch of options in here where if it has the common misspellings and it has what the correction should be over here. This is really handy for like if there's a word that just the way you spell it is wrong, but you just can't stop your muscle memory from typing it in wrong all the time. You can actually set up your common mistakes in here and it will automatically correct it to what it should be. Say you keep typing it wrong, it's like GARDNER. You just put your misspelling that you most commonly make, and then you put in the correction, which would be GARDENER. And if you hit OK, it'll add it to the list. So it will, every time you make this mistake, it'll go ahead and fix it for you, and you don't have to keep going to spell check to fix stuff like that. So go ahead and just hit OK. And don't do this next part, but I'm just going to show you that if I start typing this in wrong, when I hit space, it will make the correction for me. So having that autocorrect set up can be really helpful. Another function that can be handy in InDesign is the drag and drop. That'll let you grab text from one frame and drop it into another, or you can actually move between documents if you want to as well. So we're going to go ahead and enable that. We're going to go back to our preferences. So if you're on Windows, it'll be Edit Preferences. If you're on Mac, it's InDesign Preferences. And we're going to go over to Type. And then just where it says drag and drop text editing, make sure you have both of these enabled. So you just click to add the check mark, and then just hit OK. So we're going to go down here and we're going to select low calorie and make sure you get that comma in that space as well. And if you have the drag and drop enabled, you should just be able to click. And let's go ahead and move it right before vitamin-rich peas. And when you let go, it should shift the low calorie over. So that's just another quick way to edit text rather than having to copy paste or even just type it again. All right, next up is the story editor. So I'm just going to make sure that my cursor is over here, and I'm going to go to Edit and Story Editor. And it brings up this menu here. This is handy if you've got a really text-heavy project. Sometimes it's easier just to view it in here and make your edits rather than trying to look at it. This strips out a lot of the formatting, so it's just easier to read the flat text. But if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll notice that there's a section that has a highlight of red next to it. That's telling us that it can't be seen in the frame over here, and that's where the overset error is coming from. Again, that's another reason why it can sometimes be easier to edit in the story editor rather than over here. Because over here, that's cut off and we can't see it, and we have to change the size of our frame to get to that text. In the story editor, we don't have to change any formatting over here. We can just access this text from right here. So what I'm going to do is, in order to fix the overset errors, I'm going to actually get rid of some of my text in here. So go ahead and right above where it says recipes, there's a sentence from the previous paragraph. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that entire sentence. So the entire sentence should be, if the peas have been well enriched, 2 or 3 pounds of commercial fertilizer for each 100 feet of row will be sufficient for the second crop. That's all you should have selected, and then we're just going to hit backspace or delete. And it should have gotten rid of all that text, and you'll notice that we don't have the overset error anymore. So go ahead and keep this open because we're going to use it for the next section here. And we're going to bring up track changes. Track changes comes in handy if you're working in a group you can have InDesign mark all the changes you make in the project and then save it. And then your partner or whoever you're working with can review those changes, and they can either approve them or remove them as need be. So go ahead, and with this still open, just go to Type. We're going to track changes, and then track changes in current story. So it'll only concern itself with these columns over here. Next up is go ahead and find the paragraph that says recipes, and then find 7-layer salad. Go ahead and just delete that, and what we're going to do is instead of 7-layer salad, we're going to put in balsamic pea salad. And you'll notice that it has highlighted the whole thing and it's crossed out what we've just deleted. But if you go down to here where the section actually is, we don't see the 7-layer salad. It just has the balsamic pea salad. So once you've done that, if you're just the one adding the changes, you can just save it and then have your editor look at it. If you're the editor, what you do next is you go to Type, track changes again, and you have all these different changes you can pick from. You can accept individual changes, but if you had more than one change, you could actually navigate between those with next and previous. You can even accept all changes depending on who the editor is. So what we're going to do is we're happy with the change that's been made, so we're going to go ahead and accept all changes. And we're going to do it in this story. And I'll give up this warning. That's okay. Just hit OK. And I'll get rid of the highlighting. So once you're done, you can just close out of the story editor. And we are done. The final part should look like this. Just go ahead and save it as your last name _ prac6 and just turn it in on canvas.